My name is Monk Rowe, and we are in Los Angeles filming for the Hamilton College Jazz Archive. I'm very pleased to have Jack Sheldon with me today, who is a trumpet player, vocalist, and I've heard outgoing personality.
Oh, good.
So,
thank you.
was that all right?
Yes, very good.
Good. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm so glad to be here. I think this is such a great thing you're doing.
Thank you.
To jazz history.
The history of jazz as told by the people who do it.
Yeah.
You're a product of the early 1930s in Jacksonville.
Well, I was born in 1931 in Jacksonville, Florida, at the St. Vincent's Hospital.
Yeah. Can you tell me, as a young kid, what kind of music was kind of seeping into your consciousness at that time?
Well, the first thing I remember, then I moved to Michigan. I moved to Saginaw, Michigan.
Oh.
We were following my father, but we never caught up with him, but we were following him, though. And so I got to Saginaw, Michigan, and my mother brought home a record of Clyde McCoy playing the Sugar Blues. So this sent me. When I heard that, I wanted to play the trumpet, and it was great. And then I saw Harry James in the movies, and he was playing with Betty Grable, and he had his band and everything. Dick Hames, I think, was singing with a great time, great music. And so I was poor then, and I couldn't really get a trumpet, so I made a trumpet out of Tinker toys, these wooden toys that you put together. So I'd stand outside the Y where I swam and would compete and was a diver and all. And then I got a scholarship to a school called Cranbrook in Bloomfield Hills, and there I checked out a trumpet, and I got a trumpet, and I started playing the trumpet. Then I moved back to Florida, and then the war was on then, so I started working right away with Gene Brandt's band.
Yeah, interesting you say that. A lot of the musicians went in the service.
Yeah.
Did that open some opportunities for young fellow
Yeah, it was
like
great
you?
for me, yeah. I was young, and I got in the union. I went down with a pipe. Gene Brandt got me in. This was a great guy, a trombone player, and he worked at the George Washington Hotel, sort of a society band, I guess. I really don't remember now what it was we played. Although, I don't know, he always thought he was jazz, I'm sure. And he taught me how to read. He struggled with me to teach me syncopation and get me so I could read the stuff. Then I went in, and I guess I got a suit. I got a blue suit, and I went in and started playing when I was about 12. And the same year that I got the trumpet and started working right away.
Were they paying you as a 12-year-old the same money that they were giving the
I think so.
adults?
I think so. I never really asked. I never knew, but I think they thought I was an adult.
Oh.
With that suit, Yeah. I could go up to the bar. I remember I got a whiskey sour, and it was much harder to play. After I kept seeing a lot of different clusters of notes.
I see.
Yeah. But that didn't bother me, though.
What really sold you as far as being at what point in your career as a youth did you say, I'm going to be a musician all my life?
Oh, I knew that before I got the trumpet. I wanted to play, and I wanted to, that was to me, Harry James, to see him, and I just loved Harry James, and I wanted to be like that, and I wanted to play the trumpet, and I loved the trumpet, and it was always what I wanted to do. So I always knew what I wanted to do. That was a great thing, I guess, not wondering or anything. Yeah. And I always loved all kinds of show business. I liked the playing and the singing and acting.
Yeah, so it wasn't purely just the music. It was the whole spectrum of being in front of...
The acceptance, yeah, and being in front of an audience and getting the reaction from the people. I guess getting that love, wanting that love and wanting to play. And I was always lucky. I always got to hang around the greatest musicians of the time down in Florida. Now, when I was starting... Ross Tompkins was a little after me, and he was down there, and there was some Bobby Banks. He was an alto player that was in Jacksonville, Florida, and he introduced me to Charlie Parker, which sounded strange to me at first, very strange. But, and Dizzy Gillespie sounded strange to me then, too. I liked Al Killian and Roy Eldridge and Coleman Hawkins and those guys. But then I came to Los Angeles, and we got a job at the Central Market downtown, and right next to the $1 Million Theater, where Dizzy Gillespie was appearing, and Sammy Davis trio with Sammy Davis Jr. with Will Maston trio. So I went backstage, and Dizzy was warming up, and I said, "Dizzy, will you get me in? I'm a trumpet player too." So he got me in every day to see his big band, which was just incredible. Well, you know that band, just incredible. You know, so I was just in heaven with that thing. Now, Dizzy never recognized me after that. I'd see him in the years after that when I was actually playing and working and everything, and he'd always say, "You're that golf player, aren't you, golfer?" He always thought I was a golfer. And then on Merv Griffin, I got so he knew who I was.
Why did you come to Los Angeles?
Well, my aunt had come out from Florida, and she was teaching swimming at the Ambassador Hotel, so I came to teach swimming and go to college. I wanted to go to USC, and I went there, and I went to City College at UCLA.
Were you studying music?
Yeah, always music. And I started working right away on Main Street downtown, little jobs, and I met Lenny Niehaus and a lot of great players. Irving Bush, who's a friend of mine still. We've been friends for 50 years now. He was the first trumpet player for the Philharmonic, and he played for Nat Cole and all, great trumpet player. And so we met in college at City College, and I've known him all that time.
Someone told me a story about you working on the sidewalk with your case out in front of you.
Yeah, I did that when I was doing the Merv Griffin show, which I made, you know, I was making good money and everything, but Stanley, the guitar player, what's his name?
Stanley Jordan?
Yeah, Stanley Jordan came out, and he had made a living outside doing that, so I wanted to do it, so I went and I played, and I had put a hat out, and I made money, and I really had a lot of fun. I had a little thing like this with backgrounds that I made with a synthesizer and a drum machine, and so it was a real good way to practice, and then people would give me money, and I'd get crowds of people. I did that for a while, but then people would think I was destitute, and people came up and said, you know, "You poor thing," and so I love doing it. I'd do that today, but it's, you know, it's so dangerous now too. People, you never know. You may have some nuts come around. I'm one of the few people that's done that, though, right?
Yeah.
Any of the other guys said they did?
No. You know, you see it in New York. I've never seen it. I've never seen it here. They do it in New York, you know. But.
Well, people looked at me like I was nuts, you know, and they really. But I mean, I was really. And that money that I got in that hat was some of the best money I ever got. I don't know why. You count those dollars after. You know, I mean, like $170 sometimes.
Wow. And the government never knows about it either.
Well, now they do, But the government won't check on the jazz archives, will it? No,
Well, I didn't mean to skip ahead so far. Because I wanted to make sure I get the story here. How was your experience in the military?
Oh, good. Okay. Well, I mean, were you in the military?
No, I had a high draft number.
Well, it's strange. You know, there's guys in there that make a career with the military, and they're great guys. They're not like me, though, at all. And then it was, but I had fun. All we did was play. So I was in the 503rd Air Force Band. First, I was a permanent party at Lackland Air Force Base, which is a boot camp where everybody goes to become a soldier. And this was never successful with me. I got in there, and I went to the boot camp, and I got in places where I could play, and so I didn't have to do everything that they, you know, wash the dishes and everything. This KP, this was no joke. So I got out of doing that stuff, but I remember that my corporal, that was the flight sergeant, and the Corporal Bristow, I'll never forget this guy. If he's still around, I wonder if he's still going now, but he got so mad at me because I got out of doing so many things. And so I just kept playing, and it was great in a way, you know, but except I wanted to be out. So I had a chance to go with Stan Kenton right after I got out of the Air Force. Bill Berry was in the Air Force too. Monty Budwig. Monty Budwig was in the band that I was in.
Most of the fellas who were in the service, which is almost all of them, seem to be fortunate they got to keep playing music. That most of them didn't have to just leave it behind for those 2, 3, 4 years.
Yeah, we were lucky.
Yeah.
We went, a whole bunch of us, Monty Budwig, and we went to Las Vegas to see about that band. But then I wanted to be at Edwards Air Force Base, which is only 100 miles. I went home every night to L.A.
Oh.
And we'd play and all, and I'd go back in the morning. So it was not bad for me.
Yeah. Was the Kenton Band a band that you had aspired to be in, or was it just an opportunity?
Well, I aspired to be in any band. You know, Stan Kenton was great. I would have played with anybody. I mean, I tried to get in Chuck Cabot's band. You ever hear
No,
of
it's
him?
not
He
a
had
name I
a
know.
Mickey Mouse band.
Oh.
Real good one, though, but I couldn't read good enough, so I couldn't get in that. So they sent for me, some guy had fainted or something, I don't know, but I went and joined for Bud Billings, and then so I joined him in Philadelphia. And it was great playing with Stan Kenton. I love a huge sounding band.
I guess.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. And but I didn't like the road, though. That was the main time I went on the road. And I went on the bus, and I couldn't sleep sitting up. I used to sleep on the back, laying down on the aisle, and right over the motor, so I'd get the fumes. A couple of days, I didn't know what town I was in.
Oh, God.
But so I didn't. I only played with him for 4 months, and then I would work with him when he came to town.
Yeah.
And then I went with Mel Torme to Las Vegas, and we were working. And then Benny Goodman called me. Russ Freeman got me the job with Benny Goodman, and we went to Europe. And I liked Benny Goodman. Everything was first class with Benny Goodman. We went. Always stayed. We made a lot of money. He paid the best of anybody, and not too many people like Benny, though.
Yeah, you're always hearing. Most people will not badmouth him. You know, but they say, "Oh, that Benny, you know, he had his way about him." But
Well,
you
I
got
loved him.
along
Yeah,
with
I
him.
really loved him. He was like my father. He was really good to me. But he could be difficult too, though. I mean, he gave me a hard time for months, and he would just stop and he'd say, "Jack, sing it out, play." And he didn't know exactly, and I tried to play like Harry James or different guys that had played with him, you know, and could never get him. Finally, we were doing a record date, and he stopped the band. He said, "Who invented that style you're playing?" And I said, "I did. You like it?" And then everybody laughed, and then he wouldn't pick on me anymore. He started picking on Herbie Green then. I mean, it didn't matter how good a guy played.
Oh, that's interesting, because I heard a similar story that someone came back with something just like that, and then he was off his case. You know, as soon as you kind of one-upped him, he'd go to somebody else.
Yeah, and then I loved him, and then he was great to me. You know, he was really. I would go, and he'd. One time he had a party with the mayor and everybody, and it's sort of in my honor in New York when I was with Merv, and I got him and. Who's that great drummer? Buddy Rich. Got him, and they did the show, did Merv's show, and I'd always handle Benny when he was on Merv's show.
Yeah.
And yeah, so we had some great times. I love Benny Goodman.
So, but the Kenton thing kind of made you decide that I'm not going to seek out bands that do the road thing so much.
No, yeah, I want to stay in town, and I always taught swimming at my mother's swim school, which, you know, so I teach in the daytime and I work at night.
I see.
And then I started recording a lot, and I worked a lot with Dave Pell and his octet, and we worked a lot of jobs, and I didn't have time to teach swimming anymore, so I did a lot of record dates. We did a lot of record dates in the 50s with Marty Page and Hank Mancini, and Bill Holman, and a lot of those people.
It's really a word-of-mouth thing, isn't it? In when you move into an area like L.A., that you make a good impression on a few people, and I mean,
yeah, I guess so. You know, it's just like you were, and then you have a certain time you do that. Like Pete Candoli, who you just talked to, he did everything for a while, and now it's Rick Baptist is doing everything, and Warren Looning and. Guy that plays with my big band, Wayne Bergeron. He's doing a lot of stuff. It's a different cycles, you know, and there's certain guys do it. Before that, it was Joe and Ray Triscari did everything in town. And there's a few guys, I don't know, maybe about 50 guys that do everything. And
did you consider yourself a lead player, a hot player?
Always jazz.
Yeah,
I played
always
jazz.
jazz.
I always wanted to play solos and
Yeah.
be standing out in front of the band.
Yeah.
And I never wanted to read it. I didn't want to do that work of playing lead. That's hard work.
How about the vocals? When did you?
Benny Goodman let me start singing. But Stan Kenton wouldn't let me sing because he thought I would say something off color. So he would watch me closely.
Well, I can't imagine you saying anything off color. Come on.
I can't either, but I mean, Stan was worried that I might. I don't know where he got that idea, but Benny, you know, Benny didn't care. And Benny was, I took Benny Goodman to see Lenny Bruce one time. And I said, what did you think, Benny? And he said, he's skating on thin ice. Which was, Benny was a very clever guy. I love Benny Goodman. And so I forget what we were talking about.
We were talking about the vocal thing.
Oh, yeah, so we were working in Atlantic City, and Flip Phillips and I wrote a song called My Baby Done Told Me, and we had a little arrangement and everything. And it was recorded on some album, with some album made in Europe when we were over there. And so I started singing with his band, and that was part of the show. Benny would have Benny was a great band leader because he'd take whatever band he had and make a show out of it. This guy would have his number, and we had Red Norvo and Jerry Dodgen and Bill Harris and Flip Phillips. So it had a lot of little stuff inside the band. We'd have a great little show.
Cool.
Yeah, and Benny was good at doing that. Well, I guess all the real good band leaders, like Duke Ellington, that's the way he does it too. With uses everybody to their.
Yeah, he'd write to their sound and their personality and.
Yeah, use everybody to
thing.
the hilt.
Yeah, of course you have to be flexible though, because next time out you might not have the same people, and you have to have that ability to tailor the music to the players, I guess. So this. In the late 50s, early 60s, music was changing quite a bit in this country. There was rock and roll coming in. Did that affect your work at all?
Well, I played a couple Beatles tunes with Benny Goodman. I played She's a Woman. My love, don't give me flowers, presents.
Yeah?
Like that, yeah.
No kidding.
I was trying to be popular anyway, you know, that I could. But that's kind of a good tune, though, too. And we did an arrangement of that. We did it at the Theater in the Round in San Francisco. We were staying on the houseboats in Sausalito. And we had, Bill Hood was playing baritone saxophone. And we were having kind of an orgy on the houseboats, and it had portholes. And Bill Hood wanted to see what was happening. So he could have come in the door because it was open. I don't think he knew the door was open, though. So he went up on the roof and was looking, and he fell down and broke his leg. And we were working in the Theater in the Round, so when he came up, he was limping. You know, so the whole band limped up to go on, and then even Benny Goodman started limping up. So it was a little.
Oh, you guys were so sensitive.
Oh, now that was when Peggy Lee was with us, and a little dancer.
I guess.
Those were great.
I guess he won't be peeping in too many portholes, huh?
Well, he's gone now, but yeah, he could have come in, but he broke his leg, and also he was going with a one-legged woman.
Get out of here!
No, she sang at the Trident. She had lost one leg, and I guess she had a wooden leg or something, or your prosthesis, but however you say it. And but she'd take that off when they were making love, and I don't know, somehow he was telling us about that. That was kind of interesting or something.
Yeah, I guess. There's probably a word for it, but I'm not sure what it is.
When she sang ballads, she could cry, and I guess that's why. You know, you lose your leg, it makes you sad. So she'd go into a song and just...
Whoa. Tell me, you got me, makes me think of when you worked at...
Did you ever go with a one-legged singer?
No, I not a one-legged singer.
You seem to identify, though, somehow.
I don't know, maybe there's a desire there or something.
Well, yes, I don't know. She had some kind of specialty that she did. It was, Bill seemed to love it, I don't know. But then he fell off and broke his leg. That was really something.
All right. You worked comedy into your repertory sometime along here.
Yes, I was working with Julie London and Bobby Troop. Bobby Troop just passed away, you know, last Sunday night. We're going to do a memorial with my big band and Super Sax and Paige Cavanaugh. But I was working with Bobby Troop and Julie London. We were working at Mr. Kelly's in Chicago. And she stopped in the middle of her act and asked me for a cigarette. And then we started talking, and I developed a comedy. From that. I wrote The Atomic Bomb, a song that I used to do. Well, I guess I still do it, but I haven't done it in a while, though. But that was a funny song. And we started doing it with them. And then I met Jack Marshall, Frank Marshall's father. He wasn't. Frank Marshall was this movie director that made I think with Harrison Ford. What was it? Indiana Jones.
Oh, yeah.
All those pictures.
Yeah.
And so he's doing real good. And Jack was his father, and we wrote comedy together. And this guy was so funny. He was a guitar player, and he wrote arrangements. He wrote the what was the name of that show on the television that's so popular? The Munsters, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, so we did that a lot of time with Manny Klein and Yuan Racy. And me, yeah. Shelley Man, but a lot of good guys. And this guy was really funny, so we did a lot of comedy together. We did a comedy album, in fact, for Capitol Records.
Amazing number of swing musicians, jazz musicians found their way into the studios here. Most of them are older than you, weren't they?
I hope so.
Yeah, I hope so too.
Because now I'm older than most everybody.
You must have kept them young, I think, with your distinctive personality.
Yeah, well, I used to get a lot of laughs. Marty Page used to get mad at me if I'd get too many laughs. So, but you know, he wanted more serious stuff. Hank Mancini was real good.
Yeah.
One time I got late. We were doing the Pink Panther, in fact, and I was in San Francisco, and I was with Jack Marshall, and he was with some beautiful Filipino girl. I remember I overslept, and I was staying. We were staying at the Sausalito Hotel, and so I didn't get to this date. And finally I got to the date, and the contractor was Bobby Helfer, and he took me aside and he said, "This is a business. You know what happened to you? You have to straighten up." And I said, "I was fogged in," and he says, "I called the airport. There was no fog." And I said, "There's many ways to be fogged in, Billy." This one got famous. As, Hank Mancini liked it, but he had worked around me, so he didn't, you know, didn't have to. He wasn't panicked or anything.
Wow. How did your entrance into live TV come about?
Well, I got a show called. I auditioned for a show. Well, first of all, I went in with Steve Allen. He gave me my first break, and I had done some material off the comedy album that I'd done for Capitol Records. And then from that, I got a show called The Nut House. And I did a routine called Hunting with a Falcon. And it's very clean and all, but there was a part in it where you join a falcon club and everybody comes up and asks you, "How's your bird?" And at this time, that was cut out of the routine because it was so suggestive of bird loving or bird fooling around with, I don't know. But that's how things progressed.
Times have changed, eh?
Yeah, they changed. And for the better, I think. But so, and then I went on from that to work on the Carol Williams show at CBS, and then I got my own show called Run Buddy Run, and after that I got a show with Ryan O'Neal and Lee Taylor Young called Under the Yum Yum Tree. That was for ABC, and then we did The Girl with Something Extra for NBC with Sally Field and John Davidson. And I'm doing right now, we're doing some movies with Burt Reynolds, 3 movies, where I play, my name is Trumpet. I play a guy with a bar. And so,
What was the show you did where you played a trumpet player? Didn't you have a show where you played a trumpet player? Maybe I'm mistaken.
Oh yeah, well that would be The Girl with Something Extra. Yeah. And I worked in Farrah Fawcett was my girlfriend, and the girl I love, Terry Garr.
Oh yeah.
I'm forgetting names now. This old timer's disease is setting in. Terry Garr, I love her. Yeah, she's nice.
This incredibly long list of not only people but movies and so forth. The music business requires you to really be on time and take care of business here. Is that correct?
Yeah. They want to start, well, it's very expensive. Everything in the entertainment business is so expensive now. I think for a minute it costs $100,000 or something for a studio and a big orchestra, and the movies even more than that. So when you're late, it's not good.
Yeah. I had to ask you about a local TV show you did with Lenny Bruce.
Called
And someone Meany. Was it
Joe Maney.
Joe Meany?
Great alto player. If you've never heard of him, he was a great alto player. He finally shot himself.
Oh.
But, you know, that was... He went to this guy, Ray Graziano's house, and he was just getting divorced, and he was all upset, and Ray Graziano bought a .22 pistol, and he said, watch out, it's loaded, and Joe said, no, it isn't, and shot himself. Hung on for about 3 days, and then he died.
Oh.
But this guy, Ray Graziano, he had a Volkswagen bus, and he was turning right on the Harbor Freeway, and he turned right, and the bus made it, but he fell out the door. It was a little loaded, you know, but I swear this is how he died. The bus made it around and he fell out. He couldn't make the turn.
And someone ran over him?
I don't know.
What?
I don't know the rest of the story, but I know he died from it, though. But I always thought, I asked his wife, was he drinking or anything? She said no. Either maybe he just forgot. He just couldn't make the turn.
Maybe it was.
But anyway, that's the way Joe
Okay.
Maney. But Lenny Bruce and I did this show called Stars or something. It was a guy had a show that he had a car dealership on Wilshire and Western, and it was Stairway to the Stars or Rocket to Stardom. Rocket to Stardom,
Right.
I think that was it. Yeah. So we went on, and at this time there was another guy, Jay Caruso, who sold cars, who had been indicted for cheating everybody or doing something terrible. So Lenny and I went on, and he was starting to sing "Without a Song," but he couldn't get the right key, you know. And he was going, without a song," and I was playing stuff in the background. And then he finally says, "Caruso is innocent," and they chased us out of this place. We ran. We went back to Pete Jolly's house, who you just interviewed. Right? Yeah. Pete Jolly. We went to his house. Stan Levy and Richie Kamuka were there. They had watched.
You hid out there for a while, eh?
Yeah.
Jeez. Lenny Bruce must have been something to hang out with if off stage he was anything like on stage.
Yeah, well, he was a lot of fun. We did have fun working with him. We worked Joe Maney and myself and Kenny Drew and Philly Joe Jones and Leroy Vinegar. We opened this club, a burlesque club called Duffy's. And we worked there with Lenny, and Lenny's wife, Honey, she sang at the time. She had stripped before, but she didn't want to strip anymore, or Lenny didn't want her to. And so we worked there, and we opened the place up, and we about 2 o'clock in the morning, everybody would be swinging. They closed the club, so one time I brought everybody home to my house. Well, this night, Yvonne DiCarlo's mother had come in there with a gigolo. With a guy with a pinstripe suit and a little mustache, black and white shoes, you know, slick hair. Looked a lot like you, in fact. And she got up on the stage, and they were fixing the stage at the time. It had a hole in it. And she fell in this hole, and just her legs were sticking up. So I took everybody to my house, and I was married at the time. My wife woke up and kicked everybody out. And they were fighting. She was fighting with a gigolo out on the lawn, and the cops came, and they got arrested, and they were written up in Confidential magazine, which was one of the first magazines back then. I remember Robert Mitchum was in it with Lila Leeds and getting busted. Went to the road camp out in Malibu.
You've led a pretty boring life, haven't you?
No, I've had a great life. I really have had a great life. I got to play, when I first was, before I did anything, I played with Wardell Gray. That was one of my first jobs, so I worked all over town with him. Then Earl Bostic, I worked a lot with him. And he was a great player, kind of different than jazz, but
yeah, kind of rhythmy, bluesy
huge
thing.
sound. Yeah, he would fill up a hall, so he was fun to play with.
You must have matched up pretty well with him as far as big sound, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And well, I don't know. No, he had a bigger sound. He was really and he was just famous then too. And then I worked with Dexter Gordon, got to work with some great guys. And then Charlie Parker came out, and I got to play with him. We were playing at a place called Dingbods on Florence and Normandy, and a bass player had this little club, and so we went out there and we had the drums, and we were waiting for Russ Freeman, so I played the blues in F, and Charlie Parker played and everything, and we got through, and he said, let's wait for Russ. And so, you know, I wasn't a piano player anyway, but so then he drank some brandy, we waited for Russ, and it was a whole different, he was different. But he was a great player, Charlie Parker. Well, you know that, yeah.
Wow, did you have to keep track of him while he was out here?
I didn't have to, no.
Yeah.
But well, he was around, though, and he was, Chetty was playing with him at the Tiffany Club, and I think I was in the Air Force at the time, but I would come in every night anyway, so. And, well, I think he died. He died when he was 36, didn't he?
Yes, he did.
Yeah, real young.
Yeah, so it must not have been that long after that.
No, it was right after that, yeah.
Yeah.
And he was hung up, you know, with heroin.
Yeah. Can you recall some of the best moments of some of this long list of live TV things? The fact that it was live, were there some hairy moments that would come up?
Oh, like a Merv Griffin show?
Yeah.
Well, there would be just funny stuff. Yeah, I remember, and Pete Condoli, we worked together on Merv's show for like 20 years. And Pete, we'd play in Las Vegas. We played an hour-and-a-half show, and it was all acts. And I don't know, I'd be exhausted playing third trumpet, and Pete would always hit that high C on the theme song going out. But Pete Condoli's the one that kind of invented that thing with Woody Herman of the screaming trumpet, didn't he?
Yeah.
Northwest Passage and all. Yeah, he's a great trumpet player. And we mostly anything we did was funny. It was nothing was too, you know, too hairy, you know.
Yeah. Were you on the show when John and Yoko came on, Merv Griffin?
No, I think that must have been in New York.
Ah, yeah.
Well, I don't know. Was it out here? If it was out here, I was on it, yeah.
I can't recall, actually. Who were some of the guests that you like to see come on?
Well, I always liked George Carlin and just the real good comics. I love to see Richard Pryor and Woody Allen and those guys. And well, that's the thing about Merv's show was so great. You got to meet everybody, all the great people. Got to meet Lucille Ball. She was great. She'd always say, "You're not going to wear those pants on the show, are you?" Stuff like that. She was very motherly to me. And well, got to meet Oscar Peterson, I think, on that show. And then we used to go to Canada, and he'd come and sit in with me, and that was a great thrill. God, what a great piano player he is. And got to sing with Ethel Merman and dance with the other one, the girl that did all the dancing. I can't remember these. Ann Miller, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and Bernadette Peters, got to work with her. I love Bernadette Peters. Yeah, what a great singer she is.
Merv Griffin was a pretty powerful man. Was he good to work for?
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
Really great.
And
it was an easy job. We went in at 4:30 and we were through at 8:30. We work 3 days a week, I think.
So you were filming a couple shows a day or something? Yeah.
And you know, he never bothered anybody. He let me do anything I wanted to do. He would cut it out if I got too weird, but that hardly ever happened, though.
No, I can't imagine. If you had a conflict, were you able to get your own substitute?
Oh, with Merv?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we could always take off and do anything that happened, you know.
Right.
He didn't like it if you took off too long. I think he got mad at Jake Hanna when he went with Super Sax. And then Nick Ceroli started doing it.
I see.
But if you had to do a record date or anything, and he always let me tell you, I was doing the series, The Girl with Something Extra, when I did Merv's show.
Oh.
So I'd take off a lot during that.
Yeah. Did it take a while to get comfortable in front of the cameras for you?
Not for me, no. I just loved it. You know, I love it, and I feel better on the stage than I do anywhere else. Really, more at home and more relaxed, and just it's such fun for me. It really is fun, and the cameras being on makes it better.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's exciting, but mostly just fun.
Let me ask you about a few of the people you've been featured soloist with. Count Basie. What was Basie like?
Oh, well, Count Basie, he didn't need anybody else in the world. He could just play just by himself and was marvelous. So he was just really special. I love Count Basie. I picked him one night up in San Francisco. The band was playing, and we went back over to my place in Sausalito. I got him a girl, and we listened to Lucio Gatica all night. You ever hear of him?
No.
Great singer from Brazil. And Count Basie, had never heard of him either. Lucio Gatica, you got to hear this guy. He is really sensational. And so we were all night up with buckwheat. Some of these guys are all dead now. Well, Basie's dead too. But so, and I had a girl drive him back, and I said, well, "Did you like it, Basie?" And he said, "Smashing." So I love Count Basie. And he sat in with Benny Goodman's band, and we never sounded so good before or after as when Count Basie played with us.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, he's got it. He just is really something.
He's somehow makes everyone play better, because it's not like he plays a ton all the time.
Yeah, just a little bit, but it's just right. And he knows how to swing.
How about working with Sammy Davis?
Oh, well, now he's the best entertainer in a nightclub that I ever saw. Better than anybody. With him, I just recorded with him, but I got to see him a lot in Las Vegas when I was there with Merv. And when you see him on the stage, he never could, TV really couldn't capture him, because I think he was too big for TV. And he just, he was so sensational, and he would do impersonations, and you'd think those people were there. It was like seeing a whole theater full of people. You know, he'd do Tony Bennett, and he did them so good. He'd do Humphrey Bogart and everything. And he was the best I ever saw.
Wow. Have you ever had, over the years, had to change your physical approach to trumpet playing?
Well, I started taking lessons about, I don't know, 10 years ago, I guess, something like that, with Yuan Racy, and he's helped me. I'm still playing about the same way that I always did, but he's helped me a lot with my range and everything. I'm still taking from him. I'll take for the rest of my life now. And I study singing with his daughter, who works with the LA Opera, Duana. So, yeah, he's changed me. He'd like to change me more, get me, you know, to hit the note right on the head instead of coming up to it. I do that a lot. I have to watch that.
Do you know you're doing it?
No, I mean, you know, and then he'll stop me and say, "No, hit it right on the head." I have a tendency to, I guess, the jazz, or just my habit. I got getting up to the pitch.
Oh.
And you know, he stops me and he wants it right on the pitch, which is much more difficult for me.
Yeah. It's almost like an ear thing too, isn't it?
Yeah, and so you hear it first, and don't. I don't know where I got in that habit, but.
If you had to list a few of the trumpet players that influenced you pretty strongly in your formative years, who would they be?
Well, Harry James and Roy Eldridge and Dizzy Gillespie, Miles Davis, Chet Baker, and Clifford Brown.
All the giants.
Yeah.
In fact, I think it's in the Grove Dictionary of Jazz, they said that your playing is reminiscent of Miles Davis.
Boy, that's a compliment.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was so great because he was so simple, and everybody could copy him because it was so easy what he played, but you know, it was so hard to think of that first.
Right.
Yeah,
I can do that.
You know,
well, you should have done it.
Yeah, I wish I would have thought of that.
Isn't that interesting? You know, sometimes it's not just the play; it's the thinking of it. It's not just the playing of it.
Well, that's what was so great about Miles. He just plays melodies, and he influenced everybody to change all the trumpet players, I think. Well, Dizzy, everybody wanted to play like Dizzy, but nobody could do it. I'm still trying to play some of those Dizzy things. You know, just John Faddis can do it, but
right.
that's about it.
Do you get, business-wise, do you get a taste from all these movies you've played on?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
Oh, yeah, it's
Like
great.
unbelievably long list here.
That's SAG, a great union.
Uh-huh.
Great union, yeah.
What were some of your favorite soundtracks or writers for the movie thing?
Well, Johnny Mandel, I love him. We did the Sandpiper and The Shadow of Your Smile, and I love, that's still a great score.
And you did a great thing on that, too,
Yeah.
didn't you? Yeah.
I think I influenced players in the movies, because I hear a lot of guys sound like me, which they didn't before that. You know, they didn't have, although Miles made a couple movies with Jean Moreau, The Diary of a Chambermaid, I think that he played in that, yeah, and that certainly started it out. But I loved Hank Mancini, he was great, and Marty Page I love. He was, I don't know if we ever did any movies, we did a lot of recordings together, Marty Page, and let's see.
I see an amazing number of kinds of movies too. Everything from you know, Freaky Friday to Lovers and Other Strangers and The Munsters. It's must be amazing to hear yourself on TV, on the radio when these things come back, or do you forget that you've done them?
Oh no, I can hear it well no, I forget I've done some of them, yeah, but the ones that I had solos in I can usually remember.
Uh-huh.
But I forget some of them, yeah, because they don't come out then for a year or so after you make them.
Let me ask you about a few of the records you've played on. I'm going to work backwards here because I spotted something about The Simpsons.
Oh yeah, I did that. Well, that was because of Conjunction Junction. That's something that I did that got real famous. All the Schoolhouse Rock things. Yeah,
I didn't know you were on that.
Well, I sing the Conjunction Junction and I'm Just a Bill and a whole bunch of those things because of Bob Duro and Dave Frischberg. They started writing them 20 years ago or so.
That's great.
The first one we did was Conjunction Junction. And I played the trumpet. We laid down a track first, and then I sang it. Teddy Edwards and I.
That's Teddy Edwards, too?
Yeah.
Wow. What about, an album I like a lot with Bill Berry, Hello, Rev?
Oh, yeah, I love that album.
Yeah.
We were live at Concord.
Yeah.
With the trumpet section was Cat Anderson, Gene Go, and Blue Mitchell and me. Blue Mitchell, I love Blue Mitchell. He worked with me a lot after I had him in a small band with Art Pepper and Cat Anderson and Tricky Lofton and Dave Frischberg and Nick Ceroli and Joe Mondragon and Jack Marshall. We worked in San Francisco around up there, and it was a real good little band. I played the electric organ then, and mostly, I played trumpet too, but a lot of electric organ. And now, forget what was the first part of the question.
Well, I was just pointing out that album is a real hot one.
Yeah, what is it? Which album?
Hello, Rev.
Oh, yeah. So I remember, yeah, we were in Concord, and Don Menza and Richie Kamuka, and Jack Nimitz, and Marshall Royal was playing lead alto. Lanny Morgan was playing, and Dave Frischberg and Monty Budwick and Frank Capp. So we got a hot band. Yeah. And then I had just brought a girl back from Cincinnati Sam, and I had her with me there, and she later married Dave Frischberg. They have 2 kids together now.
Did she have 1 or 2 legs?
2 legs.
Good.
Yeah. She was a beautiful girl. And I remember, you know, she was in the audience that night, and so Dave fell immediately in love with her. And they got married. They're divorced now, but, you know, that's how it goes, you know. That's what's keeping him in Portland. You know Dave Frischberg?
I almost got an interview with him.
Yeah, he's
almost. He got
a great mind.
Funny man.
Yeah.
You two must be something together. That's all I can say.
Well, I'm the one that started him singing with my band. Yeah.
No kidding.
Yeah, because he used to, you know, I always loved the way he sang, and he, so I used to always make him sing a tune, and then now he sings every tune.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's brilliant, really brilliant.
Well, what's it like to try to put a big band together these days?
Oh, it's a thrill. The musicians are so great. When I do it, I just put the rhythm section. If I got a good rhythm section, you know, I'm happy then, because then nothing much can happen. Then these kids then you get are sensational. They can read anything. They all play lead and play jazz and do everything now. It's a different world.
Ah.
I think now you have to do everything. You have to play lead and play jazz and play classical and play every which way, because that's what the studios want now.
Yeah.
They don't specialize like they used to.
Mm. Yeah, you would get known as, you know, call.
Yeah, I was
this
always
guy,
a jazz player, and now everybody has to do everything.
Wow.
But to put a big band together, it's always a thrill, I'll tell you. We just got through working the AT&T golf tournament up there with Clint Eastwood, and we had a great show. Diana Krall and Glenn Campbell and Michael Bolton, and Clint Eastwood and his wife and my band, and oh,
Wow.
sensational.
Who writes most of your charts?
Tom Kubis. I don't know if you know him.
No,
He's
I'm
a
not
young guy. He
familiar.
teaches at Golden West College, a
Uh-huh.
real genius, great composer.
Wow. Is the live jazz scene healthy around here or not?
Yeah, it always has been for me. I always work good, and there's a place called Steamers, a great club in Fullerton, wherever that is, somewhere way out somewhere. I know. I work there. We're going to record there in April. And I work at Chadney's every Sunday night with Ross Tompkins. We do a duet. And we work, I work with the big band, and work different places with the quartet, Spaghettini's and different clubs. One at Catalina's in Hollywood.
Mm-hmm.
Then I work sometimes with Jeff Goldblum, you know, the movie star band, with Peter Weller plays trumpet and Jeff Goldblum plays piano.
No kidding.
And we work a place you can't get into that place.
Is he a good player?
Yeah, he's pretty good. For a movie star, you know.
He's good for a movie
yeah.
star.
They got their own way of playing, the movie
Yeah.
stars.
Oh, my goodness.
You play a little, you pose a little.
Uh-huh. You
I
can
work a
learn
lot
from
with George Siegel.
George Siegel, heck of a
Yeah.
banjo player, isn't he?
Well,
Well,
you
for a
could call
movie
it that.
star.
Yeah, he plays good, yeah. And he promised me he's going to learn another chord next year.
Maybe even a minor one, huh?
I doubt that. But, we don't want to hope for too much, but he's a good actor, though. And he acts like he's playing.
What's your advice to a young trumpet player who aspires to what you do?
Well, just study all you can. You really, you know, there's so many. When I was a kid, it was just here in Los Angeles. It was just Chet Baker and Connie Condoli and me, and not so many others that were right here that lived here. You know, now there's hundreds of guys that are sensational. You know, they do everything, and you got to study everything you can about music, because all the kids I got in my band, they can read anything, and they all play jazz, and the caliber, musician caliber is up high. Well, you know, from teaching, don't you think?
Yeah. The schools have done that.
Oh, yeah, the kids are good. Boy, and I got a drummer, Ray Brinker. He graduated from Texas, North Texas. They got a lot of good people come out of there, and he can read anything, plays great. This guy is one of the best I've ever heard.
Is there, let's say, a decade or 10-year span where music was really the music of that 10-year span was really a favorite for you?
Yeah, I think when Charlie Parker started and Dizzy Gillespie and Count Basie was going, Lester Young was to maybe the 30s and 40s back. I don't know. We got well, then Miles came along. It's all good. It keeps going. It gets going fast for me though. With a lot of the real modern guys are. But I guess I'm getting a little older. I love the the rhythm music, and I love the bebop. That was so new, and I don't think they've come. Nobody has that I've heard plays much better than Charlie Parker.
Yeah.
But Louis Armstrong too. Nobody plays better than him. Really, if you hear the records he made, that guy. And then these new kids are. What's his name? Roy Hargrove? He's great too. There's just all kinds of talent.
What's the future of jazz look like for you?
Great.
Yeah, I think it's healthy.
I figured out if I keep improving at the rate that I am now, I don't quite have enough time to get good. But I'm working at it though.
I bet if you move a few numbers around in your formula, I bet
well,
you
I'm
can
so
get good.
limited. You know, I mean, I'm working at stuff now. I'm working on my tonguing and want to get stuff. You know, you're a player. You really can never get it. I never get it as good as I want it. There are certain nights where I'm real good and everything seems to work good, but most of the time it's a real struggle. Do you find it that way?
I guess so. Yeah, you're sometimes always your own worst critic.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I've got to play a lot with Stan Getz, too. That was one great thrill of my life. We didn't record anything. Well, we did A Marrying Man, a movie, but I worked with him some jobs in Palm Springs and at Stanford, and boy, now there was a real virtuoso. And I don't know if he felt that way, because it seemed to just flow for him. And I asked him if he practiced. He didn't practice anymore. He didn't have to.
Wow.
I have to practice all the time on the trumpet.
Yeah. Yeah, he seemed to have that ability to directly connect what was coming out of here through his instrument.
So great. Yeah, well, so I got to be with him, and I got to be with Zoot Sims a lot, which that was always good.
Yeah. Are you a guy that, when you improvise, is it possible to describe in words what you're trying to do or how you do it?
Well, I'm trying to play those chords, and play interesting notes in the chords, and find my own rhythm, and I have to be really, a lot of it has to be on automatic pilot, because I can't think of it. That's why I have to practice so much, so that I get my body just kind of playing, and then I can almost listen to it myself, and things will happen, and I can direct it and everything, but a lot of it is on automatic pilot. And I compose, and I know what the chords are, and I know what notes I want to hit, and how melodies work out, though, it'll be, you know, it'll happen with my body and my fingers and everything. You know what I mean? Am I explaining?
Yeah.
You know what I mean.
And you feel you have to be in pretty good physical shape to make that all happen.
Yeah, the better. It's like a fighter, really. If you have to train like that, then and the trumpet especially, you lose it so fast, your lip will just go away in a couple of days. Just like you never played, you know.
Wow.
It doesn't seem right. And then there's some guys, they say Harry James didn't practice that much. But he used to go to my teacher, Ewan Racy, when he wanted to, he played duets with him to get back in shape to do stuff. So I think everybody has to work on the trumpet hard.
Wow. What's your dream project? If you had a project that you had a backer for in film or live music or recording, have you got something in your mind that you would just love to make happen?
Well, yeah, a bunch of stuff. I'd love to have a TV show, a comedy show about my big band, with all the stories of all the guys in the band and all the girls, and you know, all the stuff that can happen with a big band, how interesting it can be, and how great it would be with the music and the jazz and everything. Now, that's a thought. I don't know if anybody's ever even thought of that. They think of the music as, you know, it's hard to hold the people. But I don't think that's true, though. I see some old movies with Bing Crosby where they just have his face in there for 2 choruses. And I mean, it holds it, and it's just a close-up where he's singing for 2 choruses, and he sings so good. I think if you have everything so good like that, you could do something like that. But we'll see if that happens. But we just did this thing with Clint Eastwood, and he was loving it, and I was loving being on the stage with him. He's a pleasure to work with.
No kidding.
Yeah, just he's is very relaxed, and he loves jazz, and you don't have to hurry to say stuff. You know, you can just stand there and look at each other, which is a real, that's nice to have on the stage. You know,
Yeah.
usually a lot of people you work with, you got to get your lines in fast before they'll fill up the time. They don't want any dead air. Or,
Yeah. Well, what kind of thing do you do with him?
with
back
Clint
and forth?
Eastwood?
Yeah.
Well, we just talked back and forth, but it was great. We had nothing, no kind of plan or anything, but we worked real well together. We've done it a couple of times now, and it's always works real good. Because he's very confident, and you know, he's Dirty Harry. You know, he doesn't have to worry about anything, and he's great to work with, and he loves jazz too.
I think he has a son who's a...
Yeah, Kyle, who I worked with.
Oh.
Yeah, he plays bass.
Wow.
Worked with him and Roger Calloway. We did the Film Institute Award for his father. Buddy Collette, all guys you've interviewed.
Yeah.
Ralph Penland.
Wow.
Yeah.
Unbelievable list of people out here.
Oh yeah, now we got just everybody. The competition is, well, it makes everybody play. You know, everybody is playing great.
You ever get back to New York to play? I shouldn't say back. Do you ever go to New York to play?
Yeah, I've been there. What was the last time? What was I did that? Oh yeah, Carnegie Hall with Rosemary Clooney.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that was a thrill. God, I love Carnegie. And I've done Carnegie Hall with Benny a few times. We did the 40-year anniversary, and then I did a few concerts with Benny back there. And then I got to go back with Rosemary Clooney. We did a tribute to Bing Crosby. So that, I love her. She's a great artist.
I see you've got a couple albums out with the Jack Sheldon Orchestra.
Yeah.
You happy
I
with
have a
it?
new one coming out live on the Queen Mary.
Ooh.
So that'll be good, yeah.
Is that the one that's parked
Yeah.
down in Long Beach, is
Yeah, it's not going anywhere, but it's nice though. It's this big boat.
it? Yeah.
And we did something there with the big band. It was great.
Terrific. Anything that you would like to talk about that I haven't thought to ask? The
No,
floor is
that's,
open.
yeah, that's great. You
Anything
said
that you
everything. I'll be at the Hollywood Bowl on September 15th, but that won't matter in the archives.
Oh, that sounds interesting. That
Yeah, it's a
you know,
tribute to Quincy Jones and Johnny Mandel and Hank Mancini.
what kind of ensemble do they put together for that? Like
Will
a
be-
studio orchestra?
No, John Clayton, Jeff Hamilton band, big jazz band. And Shirley Horn will be there, and Plaz Johnson, a great player.
Yeah.
And I forget who else, but other people too, so that'll be nice.
Did you ever play on rock stuff? Rock,
Yeah. Yeah, I've done some records, and they called me in and just had me add to it the trumpet, and
Yeah.
I don't know what happened with it.
That's a Monkeys album.
Yeah?
Oh, yeah.
So I've done anything for money.
Yeah, sure. Why not?
You played with Leon
Oh, Leon Russell, yeah, I did a lot of stuff with Leon.
Oof.
Love him.
There's a talent.
Oh, great talent, yeah.
Yeah.
I've been so lucky. I've really been around the most talented people. Dave Frischberg, who, you know, we worked together and knew each other close since before he moved to Portland, but he's a great genius, and I got to be around him. And Bill Berry, here's a guy who got that band together.
Yeah.
I mean, and he's a great band leader, too. He does it with no strain at all. And that was a lot of heavyweight guys in that band, boy.
I guess.
Yeah, that's and Jimmy Cleveland was there. Yeah, I remember. Yeah, that was really some good band. Yeah, I've gotten to be around great people. And Art Pepper, I loved Art Pepper a lot. He was great. Kind of crazy, but he was a great player, though.
Do you think the bop, phase of jazz confused the audience, the jazz audience that might have been into swing and so forth? And
Well, probably, because it confused me at first. That when Bobby Banks played me that Charlie Parker solo, but he played it on his alto, and it sounded really strange. you know, and I couldn't really get with it right away. So I guess maybe it was confusing, but it was so hip, you know, and I wanted to be hip. I was at the age where I'd do anything to be hip. I think I must have got a beret and glasses and everything.
Yeah.
But, and so I loved it after it was so hip. But it was confusing at first. I was more Roy Eldridge.
Ah.
You ever heard Roy Eldridge's Rockin' Chair with Gene Krupa's band?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, I got to get a copy of that. I want to.
I bet we can get one.
Oh, boy, I'd love to get a copy of that. That's one of the great records of all time.
You remind me and I'll get you one.
Okay, great.
Well, this has really been just a treat. When is the next unexpected time I might hear you on television, do you suppose?
I'll be on the 28th on the Burt Reynolds movie. It's called Hard Time on Ted Turner Network. TNT, yeah.
Oh, you're in it?
Yeah.
And you play on it?
Yeah.
Hey, man, you got it going from both ends, don't you?
Yeah, anything for a buck. But you know, Burt Reynolds is he loves jazz too. And
Yeah?
he's a great guy, yeah. And Charles Durning is in it, who's a great actor. And it's so fun, I'll tell you. I love these people, you know. It's great to be around them. You go and you get a big trailer and you go and just sit in there and wait, and I practice and wait and go do the scene, and everybody treats you so good. It's great.
What a life.
Hollywood is a great life.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really is.
Good. Well, thank you for coming, and
Okay, thank you,
I most
Mark.
appreciate it, getting your stories, and you've added some things I haven't heard before, for sure.
Okay,
It's
good.
great.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.